Hello, and welcome to Hedgehog Storytime, where I read my weird original fiction. The following story is part of the Mayhem Cerebrum project, linked to the playlist in the description below. Yes, you have to read them all. No, that is not a request.
So I struggled a little bit with this episode, mostly just because I'd never written an auction, and it was a little bit rough to try to figure out how to work an auction in a non-visual medium while still making it interesting and not confusing. There were one or two little points that I'm not sure if I'm necessarily 100% content with, but for a first attempt, Mayhem Cerebrum is all about experimenting, and I think I did a decent job at the very least. So, without further ado, here is Rogues Gallery, Part 2. Distantly, the sound of the clock tower striking 3 o'clock reached the auction hall, and the assembled participants began to find their seats. Up on the stage, a podium had been erected, and though he was, as always, fashionably late, the auctioneer eventually ambled his way up in front of the crowd. He slammed a bottle of rum onto the podium and grinned down at the audience. "I have the distinct feeling I'm going to need this." That received a sizable chuckle from the crowd and a tip of the hat from Holiday, who had sat himself very noticeably towards the front. Bake took a big swig of the rum while staring directly at him. "All right, party people, let's get this show on the road. This is your traditional auction. If you want to bid, raise your hand, scratch your nose, I don't know, do something. So, I guess, if you're not bidding, you gotta stay real fucking still, because if you win, you're buying it or you're gonna have to tango with Jack, and let me tell you, he's got his fucking tap shoes on today. Anyway, we've got a bunch of very fancy properties for y'all to gut up for sale today. I can't show you any of them because I have no lovely assistant in a slutty outfit to show them off." A series of disappointed sighs emanated from the crowd. "Hey, it's not my fault," Bake insisted. "I got the death glare when I suggested it, but how long have all of you been eyeing them, huh? How long did that stuck-up sucker keep them away from you? I'm sure you've got entire floor plans memorized by now." The eager anticipation that drifted perceptibly through the hall meant that no one need say anything. Holiday, for his part, looked slightly perplexed, but the smile did not drop off his face. "We're going in order of size, so small ones go first. The very last item is a whole block because for some fucking reason, what's-his-name bought them as a unit and I can't be bothered to split them up again. So make sure you don't blow your loads at the beginning, because once you've committed, you'd better slap a ring on it because that shit's for life. Unless you foist it off on some other sucker, I guess, but until then, I will not take kindly to being screwed over. Got it?" There was general consensus. "Good! Let's fucking do this!" He slammed his rum bottle down like it was a goddamn gavel. From somewhere in the crowd, Kay cringed, praying that it wouldn't break. "First, we've got the former, he blinked at the paper in front of him. La Crepe Salop? Fuck it. The fucking little French cafe. Got an open front, couple apartments up top. Could be a coffee house or like a boba tea shop. Really kinky sex club. Anyway, all bidding will be in increments of 1,000, so who'll give me 100? 100 here, 100. Blah. He sighed. "Yeah, that's not happening. 100K. It was a pretty low starting price, even for a property as small as that one, so he immediately had some takers. "That's 100. How about 110? 110 right there. 120. 120. Can I get 130? He broke off as a single finger was raised, and he ended up pointing at Holiday, who had the most unbearable smirk on his face. That place wasn't big enough for a casino, so what did he want with it anyway? 130. Bake finished through gritted teeth. 150, rang out the commanding voice of Debonair. "Aha! Looks like we've got ourselves a real contender." Holiday glared backwards, meeting Debonair's eye for just a second. 170, he said, turning back to the front. 185, 190, 200. 200 to Mr. Debonair, Bake announced. "Can I get 210? 210 maybe. 200 going once, going twice. Yep." Holiday raised his hand at the last second, and Debonair frowned. 250, he responded, hoping to ice him out. 250 going once, 250 going twice. Now are you gonna fucking interrupt me again? Bake glanced down at Holiday, who shook his head. Fucking soul at $250 to Debonair. Holiday tipped his hat again, still with that odd smile on his face. Bakke hadn't realized how long this thing was going to take until he was in the thick of it. Like, Jesus Christ, how many pretentious yuppie garbage joints could exist on one road? It didn't help that he felt the need to keep an eye on Holiday the entire time. Since that first little cafe, he stayed mostly quiet, only putting in a random bid here or there, presumably just to be annoying. It was relieving when they finally got through the small fries and onto the mid-sized properties. Alright, this next one was, an office building? Just a bunch of big fucking rooms with no other purpose than to push money around? Well, I'm sure someone's got a better use for them. We'll start the bidding at $300. This was a popular one. He supposed that the basicness of it probably got people's gears turning. A couple of randos who weren't going to win bidded up $30K, and right about then would be where the big fish started taking the bait. $350, a commanding voice rang out. Some people turned in their seats to see who it was, but Bakke didn't even have to squint. Even though she was at the back of the crowd, Miriam Halflight had her tail up in the air. Even if her somewhat imposing aura caused pause, it didn't even last long enough for Bakke to interject. Marcus Pearson raised a Rolex-clad wrist and responded, $375. Ah, yeah, this probably made total sense for the both of them. Pearson had very specific needs for a building if he wanted a recording studio, so a bunch of empty square rooms would be ideal. Halflight could want it for any number of things, whether that be internal storage or external display. $380, she responded. $385. $385 right over there, Bakke filled in. Can I get $390? $390, folks. From the middle of the crowd, Debonair raised his hand quietly. We've got $390. Is that Debonair bidding? Holiday asked suddenly. I'm not gonna tell you that, Bakke grumbled. Now are you gonna bid? Holiday shook his head. $391. Pearson offered instead. What a lame-ass bid. Then Halflight chimed in with $392. It was clear neither of them wanted the bid to get above $400K, but neither of them were willing to give it up, either. That was when an unexpected contender chimed in. $400 if you would be so kind. Kimiko-sama's voice was quiet but distinct and tinged with just a small bit of impatience. We are officially up to $400, Bakke gestured. Any other takers? $400 going once? Going twice? Both Pearson and Halflight were sweating. Bakke paused for one extra second to see if either of them would put in one more Hail Mary. $401, Halflight said finally, frowning. Bakke turned to Pearson. You heard the lady. But he sighed and shook his head. Then the lame office building is sold to Miriam Halflight. Here's hoping it'll be put to a more interesting use. Internally, he was hoping she turned it into a museum. He told himself it was so he could pull a wicked heist in it, but really he just wanted to see some cool swords and shit. Pearson looked pretty pissed, but it quickly became apparent that with Halflight out of the bidding, it wouldn't be long before he succeeded. Most of the bigger fish were holding onto their bones for the bigger ticket items after all, so he got what he was after pretty quickly. Much to Bakke's chagrin, Holiday had helped him out with that one a little. It looked like Debonair was once again going to throw his financial weight around, and there was no way Pearson could compete with the full power of the Merchants Guild. But Holiday had swooped in, bullied him out of it with a high bid, then promptly dropped out himself when Debonair didn't want to play ball. Pearson had swept in like a vulture and scooped it up, and that had been that. Come to think of it, now that the price tags were getting higher and the pool of potential buyers was shrinking, Bakke was starting to notice a worrying pattern. Holiday was following Debonair around like white on rice. Nearly everything he bid on, Holiday was soon to follow. But weirdly, he still hadn't won anything yet. This was more than fine with Bakke, yet he had to wonder, what was he doing? He probably didn't have any money at all and was just trying to be a tool. But then, why work so hard at making Bakke more bones? Admittedly, Bakke wasn't always that quick on the uptake, so it wasn't until it was nearly too late when he figured out what Holiday's scheme was. All right, freaks and geeks, here it is, the moment you've all been waiting for. It's the fucking block party. The entire block is a series of conjoined buildings. Keep them separate, knock all the walls down in between them. I don't give a donkey's ass, but it better be something cool or I will be mildly disappointed. We're gonna start the bidding at $700. That was a stupidly, disgustingly low price, and the crowd knew it. Immediately, the bidding began. $700, $750, $780. Debonair chimed in. Of course he did. This was the big prize for the Merchants Guild, after all. Is that Debonair bidding? Holiday asked again. Bakke frowned audibly. Like I said, I'm not gonna fucking tell you. And that answers my question, 800. Debonair responded. Obviously, there was no way Debonair was going to lose to Holiday on this bid. So why did it look like he was starting to sweat as the bid crawled closer to 1,000,000 bones? And it was in that moment, when he happened to glance down at Holiday's smug fucking face, that he knew what was going on here. Debonair had limited funds. No doubt the amount was positively enormous, but he was beholden to bid only to the amount that had been assigned for the event. No doubt it was a pool of funds from all the members of the guild, so he'd get in pretty deep shit if he went over. Holiday must have figured that out somehow. He'd locked onto his biggest competition and had been methodically bidding him up so that by the time they arrived at the big-ticket item, he could outbid him easily. And with Debonair out of the way, who else could possibly stand to outbid Holiday, whose business was dedicated to stealing people's bones? Nearly starting to panic, Bakke glanced over at Debonair, but that was not the right move. His dead stare was certainly not fucking confidence-inducing. All right, he gulped, trying to hide his own horror. Here we are. This is the big one. Who's gonna give me 1,000? That's really 1,000,000 smackers. Yep, Holiday immediately responded, triumph etched into his every pore. That's 1,000. Can I get 1,100? 1,100 anyone? Anyone at all? Please God, someone raise their hand. But Debonair was shaking his head. He was out. This was the literal end of the world. He was about to have to let his greatest enemy gain a foothold in his beautiful city. That was the problem with being an anarchist. The instant he put his foot down about something arbitrary, the whole thing fell apart. He'd set up this auction. He was the one who'd said anyone could attend. Bakke had no idea he'd been slathering his foot in butter to make it go down easier. And that's 1,000 going once. Going twice. What a fucking nightmare. 1,200, if you'd please. He was going to kiss whoever had just made that bid. Actually, as it turned out, he already had. Kimiko Yamashita was raising not 1, not 2, but 3 of her hands in the air. Surprised, Holiday glanced behind him and whistled as she smirked at him. I see we have a new contender. He drawled, 1,314. Another voice immediately interrupted, and now it was Bakke's turn to be surprised, for it was Kay who was triumphantly waving from the back of the room. Now see here, Bakke. Holiday looked almost a little too excited about this turn of events. You must tell me how you've been getting all these gorgeous ladies to start coming out of the woodwork. I've honestly got no idea, but I think I'm just as stoked as you are. We've got 14. Can we get that to 15? Of course, Holiday obliged. Better make that 16, Kimiko interjected again. 17. The smile was starting to drop off Holiday's face. He clearly hadn't been prepared for an unexpected competitor, let alone 2. 18. In contrast, Kay's smile was only getting broader. 19. Holiday insisted. 20. That was Kimiko again. Something was definitely going on here. There was no way Kay had that many bones lying around, and for some reason, why did it seem like the 2 ladies were cornering Holiday? But it was a little hard to think about that when Bakke was just having trouble keeping up with the bids themselves. For the first time, Holiday was starting to sweat. 20.5, he said. Jesus Christ, those 2 demonesses were breaking him. 21, Kay said, cheerful as ever. 21.25, Holiday choked out through gritted teeth. Bakke, for his part, had never been happier. And with one final, broad grin, Kimiko-sama, head of the Yamashita family, took a deep breath and delivered the final blow. 25. The hall went dead silent as Holiday stared down at his lap, most likely rapidly running numbers in his head. Any other time, of course, this would probably be nothing for him, but clearly he was still financially recovering after someone had cleared out his vault just a few months before. Fire and brimstone, he said finally. Let those 2 sort it, I'm out. Bakke was so busy delivering unto his enemy the most shit-eating expression he could muster that he almost missed Kay shake her head. No need, she said. I'm also out. Right, then that's 2,500,000 bones going once, going twice. He was half expecting another surprise bid. Sold to Yamashita-sama! Congratulations! And then everybody clapped. Okay, not really, but they did in Bake's head, which was more real to him than anything outside. All right, that's a wrap, people. He took another chug of his rum. No point in staying sober now. If you have made a purchase today, stick around. It's gonna take us a minute to get our ducks in order. Just chill out. I don't know, mingle. Bake hopped off the stage, and the crowd took that as the signal to do what he said. Since Holiday was right in the front row, it was easy to accost him before he slunk away. Hey, where are you going, Dick Cheese? Had enough of Discord already? For the moment. He was trying desperately to recover his pride, but I think I may just grow to like it. Too bad you couldn't cinch that win, huh? If it weren't for the both of them together, I may have gone a bit longer. Not bad for a whore, huh? I never called her that. Bake laughed. Keep coping, dumbass. You've been rendered guilty by implication. Now get out of here. Your smug fucking face is starting to piss me off. Would it be cliché to shake my fist in the air and prophesize my return? Oh, would you please? I've been missing a good cruel laugh at someone's expense today. And just why would I give you the satisfaction? He tipped his hat and disappeared through the crowd. But Bake didn't have long to ponder the unfathomable dickery of that cane-spinning tool before he was interrupted. Oh, Kei-chan, I could never have done it without you! It was my pleasure, Kiriko! Towards the back of the room, Bake's eyes were drawn towards a surprising sight. Kei, the ice-cold snow queen, and Kimiko-sama, the imposing family head of the Yamashitas, were hugging and giggling like schoolgirls. Had he put something in his own rum and just not remembered it? That had definitely happened before. But as the crowd parted and he made it to the back, that seemed increasingly unlikely. Wait, you two know each other? He asked as they glanced up at him. Like, personally? We've known each other for years, Kimiko explained, looking significantly more girlish with her formal demeanor dropped. We're like best friends, Kei added. Bake frowned. Well, why the fuck didn't you say? Rolling her eyes, Kei stared back at him like he was an idiot. Because then people would have assumed we were working together. Duh. Wait. Bake paused for a little too long. You were working together? They both stared at him. I don't mean to be rude, but is he an idiot? More than you could possibly know. Kei turned back to him. Did you really think I have that many bones just laying around? Well, no, but she was bidding with my bones, Kimiko explained. So regardless of which of us actually won, the property would be mine. But from anyone else's perspective, it would look like there was not one, but two separate parties whom someone would have to outbid. Someone like Holiday. Bake felt a grin quickly spreading across his face. Well, fuck me gently with a chainsaw. That's pretty clever. So, Kimiko-sama, if I may be so bold, what were you planning on turning your winnings into? He immediately disliked the looks that were spreading across their faces. Oh, that's simple. Kimiko smiled in a thoroughly unpleasant way. I'm going to bulldoze the entire thing to build a brand new department store. Bake's eyes widened, and he felt a pit opening up in his stomach. He struggled just to get the words out. Depart. It couldn't be. Not in the middle of his beautiful grungy city. Oh yeah, it's gonna be so fancy! Kei grew uncharacteristically excited. A whole block of polished floors and upscale commodities. It's a wonderful opportunity for the family to expand into more legitimate businesses. Kimiko sighed dramatically. Yes, the only thing that could possibly stop it now is if someone decided to take that block off my hands. With interest, of course. It was just then that Bake realized Holiday wasn't the only sucker those two minxes had targeted today. This is extortion. He frowned. I'd prefer to call it a perfectly reasonable business arrangement. Kimiko giggled. Eventually, Bake was persuaded to take the deal.